There she was, Karen in a ridiculous leopard robe and worn-out Ugg boots, sitting on my porch, screaming like a banshee that her Tesla was possessed by Satan because the dashboard was glowing like a Las Vegas slot machine. I just stood there, coffee in hand, wondering if now was the right moment to finally spill the truth. She'd been freeloading off my electricity for weeks, and I decided it was time she got a little surprise in return. And no, this isn't the plot of some low-budget comedy. This is what really happens when a wannabe dictator in a fake HOA tries playing power games in the wrong neighborhood. Cue the freeze frame. Yep, that's me. I'm the guy whose private well Karen tapped into to keep her precious garden alive without paying a dime. So what did I do? I rerouted the system and flushed it with raw sewage. And trust me, that was just the warm-up act. Now, before you assume I'm some psycho neighbor out for blood, let me set the record straight. I moved here for the peace and quiet. 3/4 acre, modern build, a neighborhood with what looked like reasonable HOA rules. On paper, it all seemed just fine. I'm an electrical engineer, low-key, drama-free, not the guy who picks fights over lawn length. But it only takes one control-freak Karen with a clipboard and a fake badge to turn your quiet dream into a living sitcom. Karen, real name Sandra, but she demands everyone call her Madam Vice President of the Neighborhood Improvement Council, had it out for me from the moment I unloaded my first box. Day one, she taped a typed letter to my door. Typed. A full page listing how my temporary construction tools were a visual disturbance, and warning that visible ladders, wires, or electrical gear would earn me an HOA fine. I'd been there less than 6 hours. I hadn't even finished unloading my truck. At first, I shrugged it off. Some people treat control like it's oxygen, but I seriously misjudged how far she'd push it. She wasn't just annoying, she was methodical, like a passive-aggressive robot programmed for torment. One day, she reported my mailbox for being non-standard height, even though it was the same as 3 other homes nearby. Another time, she flagged me for leaving my trash bins out while I was literally in the middle of bringing them in. But none of that matched what really pushed me over the edge. It was my electric bill. Out of nowhere, it jumped more than $195 in 1 month. I thought maybe I'd left a breaker running or something. Did a full system scan. Everything looked normal. Then I spotted something odd on my Ring cam footage. The outdoor outlet cover was slightly open. At first, I figured maybe it was wind, or maybe one of the neighbor's dogs had brushed it. But then, bam, there it was, caught at 12:13 a.m. A shiny white Tesla backing into my driveway like it belonged there. A charging cable dragging from my outlet right into her car like I ran a public EV station. Then came Karen, creeping around like some bathrobe ninja, using her phone light to guide her. I paused the video multiple times just to be sure, and there it was, the smug little hair tuck behind her ear as she strolled back to her house like she'd done it a dozen times before. Subtlety? Not her thing. She came back the next night, and the night after that, sometimes even during the day. One afternoon, she had the nerve to park diagonally across my entire driveway, charging cable stretched out like a giant electric leash. No text, no permission, just pure entitlement on display. So, being the reasonable guy I am, I did what any geeky, slightly vengeful homeowner would do. I installed a Wi-Fi-enabled power monitor to track every stolen kilowatt. Over the next 2 weeks, her Tesla drained almost 68 kilowatt hours from my outlet. That's around $182.50 in electricity. When I finally confronted her, politely, mind you, she looked at me like I'd asked her to hand over a kidney. "Oh, I thought that was a shared outlet," she said. "It's out front, after all." I pointed out, very calmly, that it was wired directly to my panel and locked behind a weatherproof cover attached to my house. Then she flipped the script. "Well, you don't even drive an electric car, so what are you using it for?" I stared at her, stunned by the audacity. I told her to knock it off. Then I zip-tied the outlet shut. 2 days later, the tie was snipped. so I replaced it with a lock. Next morning, the box was scratched up and the lock looked like someone had taken a wrench to it. She wasn't just stealing anymore. She was escalating. And then she filed a formal complaint against me, claimed I was tampering with communal utilities. Imagine my face when I got an official HOA warning letter and a $225 fine for obstructing neighborhood electrical access. At first, I laughed. Then I stopped laughing and spent 2 straight days digging through the HOA charter like it was buried treasure. Turns out there's a conveniently vague clause about exterior utility elements visible from the road, possibly falling under HOA easement. Karen jumped on that loophole like a bloodhound. Suddenly, my outlet installed before I even moved in was now a communal resource. That was the moment it clicked. I wasn't just dealing with an annoying neighbor. This was a full-blown wannabe tyrant with zero respect for boundaries and a serious addiction to free power. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to just cut her off. No, that would be too easy. She needed to feel it, to realize what it's like to plug into someone else's life without permission. So I got to work. I took one of those fake irrigation boxes, the kind that hides sprinkler wires, and gutted it. Inside, I built a harmless low-voltage shock relay system, just enough to trip her Tesla's sensors and freak the system out. Nothing dangerous, just a little educational chaos. Blinking lights, wild chimes, and a flashing dashboard light show that looked like a rave meltdown. The goal wasn't harm, it was awareness. I disguised it perfectly and synced the trigger to my motion cam. So I waited, patiently, and man, when it finally went down, it was even better than I'd hoped. She backed in like she always did, totally unfazed, charging cable in hand like she owned the place. She plugged it in, turned around, and strolled off like it was just another Tuesday. 5 minutes later, the chaos kicked in. First, her headlights blinked twice. Then, the dashboard went full red alert. The touchscreen started glitching like a scrambled VHS tape. The speakers blared this weird ding-ding-ding, like the car itself was having a nervous breakdown. And then she came flying out of her house, full-blown panic mode, yanking the cord out like it was about to explode. That's when she stormed up to my porch, screaming her head off about demons and black magic, and how I had cursed her Tesla with some kind of voodoo tech. I just took another sip of coffee and gave her a slow nod like I was watching a toddler throw a tantrum. But the real beauty? That wasn't even the main event. Because while she was losing her mind over her electrified meltdown, something else was about to go live. The irrigation line. Yeah, the one she illegally hooked into my private well. It was set to trigger in 3, 2, boom. Pressurized sewage. Straight into her overpriced, Instagram-worthy garden beds. Think this story peeped with a little Tesla terror? Oh no, buddy. That was just the warm-up act. Here's something I've come to understand the hard way. When you catch a Karen red-handed and she comes at you swinging, it's not because she's fearless. It's because she's completely detached from reality. People like her don't apologize. They double down because deep down, they believe the whole neighborhood exists to applaud them. And when the HOA is basically her own personal security force, you can't win with logic alone. You need proof, strategy, and most of all, you need to hit her where it hurts. Her fake reputation. After her little EV meltdown, Karen didn't retreat. Oh no. She launched into full-on damage control, but not the kind that involves accountability. Nope, she didn't say sorry. Didn't offer to pay for the power she stole. Didn't even pretend to be embarrassed. Instead, she leaned into the madness. She actually started telling people that her car had been sabotaged by neighborhood radicals. Her exact words. Next morning, she went door to door with a clipboard like some deranged prophet, warning neighbors that there was a techno-anarchist on the loose targeting electric vehicles. According to her, I had gone from disgruntled homeowner to full-blown eco-terrorist in less than 24 hours. And she didn't stop there. She filed a formal complaint with the HOA board, accusing me of 1. Endangering her property, 2. Blocking her access to clean energy, 3. And my personal favorite, spiritually disrupting the communal harmony. Yeah, that was an actual line from the complaint. I had no clue what that meant. I'm pretty sure she didn't either. And the HOA? Right on cue. They responded just like they always did whenever Karen cried foul. They mailed me a scolding letter threatening legal action if I ever interfered with shared infrastructure again. No mention of the electricity theft. No retraction of the bogus fine they'd already pinned on me. Just more passive-aggressive backing of their queen bee. So I did what any self-respecting engineer would do. I got to work gathering evidence. I upgraded to a top-tier smart power monitor, real-time stats, second-by-second usage logs, push alerts, the whole 9 yards. Then I added a motion-triggered camera system that fed footage straight to my phone and backup cloud server. I even built a custom applet to ping me anytime that outlet got touched. And guess what? Despite the whole Tesla freakout, Karen couldn't help herself. She didn't come back right away. Took a few days off. Probably trying to see if the storm had passed. But then, 2 a.m., day 5, her car crept back into my driveway. Slow, cautious, like a trash panda sniffing around for leftovers. She got out, did a quick look around, then bam, plugged right back in. Same outlet, same routine. I watched her live from my couch, sipping hot chocolate and grinning like a kid on Christmas. But this time, there was no shock circuit. I didn't need it. The trap was already set. And this time, the weapon wasn't electricity. It was solid proof. Over the next 10 days, she charged up 8 more times. Same shady moves. Always late. Always parked at an angle. Like maybe that would keep her out of frame. It didn't. I had her from 3 different angles. Every shot was crystal clear. One camera even caught her mid-yawn. So when the next HOA meeting rolled around, and Karen strutted up like a peacock and started ranting about how I was a threat to neighborhood safety, I just sat there quietly. Let her ramble. Let her get dramatic about her poor, traumatized Tesla and how it had never functioned the same since the spiritual attack. She even held up some printout from Tesla Diagnostics claiming voltage surges and system errors. I let her wind herself up. Then, when she finally paused for breath, I raised my hand. I calmly asked for the floor, reached into my bag, pulled out a remote, and turned on the projector. Slide 1, video of her pulling into my driveway, time-stamped, crystal clear. Slide 2, a power graph showing a surge right when she plugged in, clearly marked Tesla charging spike. Blown away. My day is California. And hey, if you ever wanted something funny and romantic, and now you want to talk about it. Then came slide 3, and 9 more clips. Each one showed her trespassing. Plugging in. Her smug face front and center in every shot. And yeah, I added music. Something dramatic. Because if you're going to drop the hammer, you might as well do it in style. You could practically hear the air get sucked out of the room. Karen's smug little grin froze like someone had hit pause on her face. The HOA president's jaw eased open, like he forgot how to close it. The treasurer choked on his coffee so hard, I thought we might need another ambulance. But I wasn't even close to finished. I started passing around printed sheets that laid out exactly how much juice she'd been sucking from my outdoor outlet. Over 74 kilowatt hours. That's enough to run a hot tub for an entire month. Right next to that, I included a breakdown of the cost, $199.80, all neatly itemized. Oh, and just for fun, I added a little note from my home insurance company, one that clearly said unauthorized use of my utilities could void my entire policy. Karen tried to butt in, but I raised a single finger, just one, like hold that nonsense, because I was just getting to the good part. I pulled out a copy of the circuit diagram I'd filed a provisional patent for. I named it the Tesla Theft Detection and Deterrent Device, Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Not only was it legally registered under my name, it had also gotten a thumbs up from an online electrical safety group that called it smart, creative, and totally safe. Karen immediately jumped to calling it a weapon, like I'd built a landmine or something. ... I calmly pointed out that it delivered about as much voltage as a doorknob zap in the winter, and she'd plugged into my outlet without permission a dozen times before it ever even activated. And no, it didn't damage her precious Tesla. It just confused the hell out of it. Even Tesla's own diagnostic report showed zero actual issues. Then it got quiet, like dead quiet, for a full 10 seconds, until Chuck, one of the board members, who usually just shows up for the free donuts, leaned over and muttered, "Well, hell, that's kind of genius." And that, right there, broke Karen. She went into a full-blown tantrum, screaming that I was a sociopath, accusing me of stalking her and demanding they kick me out of the neighborhood. Someone from the back of the room murmured, "Lady, you've been robbing his house in the middle of the night. Maybe sit this one out." The whole room chuckled. Even the HOA president was biting his lip to keep from laughing. By the end of it, they held a vote. Karen officially lost her vice president title. The board gave me a formal apology and wiped out every bogus fine they'd ever slapped on me. They even agreed to rewrite the HOA charter to make it crystal clear. A homeowner's outlet is not a public charging station. But the cherry on top? Restitution. Karen had 21 days to pay me back for every stolen kilowatt. And if she didn't, the HOA would slap her with double the fine and put a lien on her home. When they said the word lien, I swear I saw her soul exit through her nostrils. She stormed out, leopard print purse bouncing behind her like a flag of defeat. That should have been the end of it. You'd think being publicly humiliated, fired from her fake title, and slapped with a fine would be enough to stop her. But Karen doesn't know the meaning of let it go. Exactly 10 days later, I find this ridiculous letter stuffed in my mailbox. Anonymous, of course, accusing me of building illegal tech that was supposedly destabilizing neighborhood energy fields. I nearly laughed myself into a hernia, but it didn't stop there. Later that same night, my security system caught her creeping around my side yard again. Not with her car this time. This time, it was a garden hose, and something told me she wasn't out there doing any landscaping. There's a very specific sound a hose makes when it's being dragged across gravel at 2 a.m. It's not loud, it's just wrong. When your neighbor's already siphoned electricity from your house and thrown a fit over her haunted Tesla, that sound hits different. I was dozing off on the couch, some rerun buzzing in the background, when my motion sensor pinged. I pulled up the camera feed, expecting maybe a stray cat. Nope, it was Karen, out there in fuzzy slippers and a windbreaker, dragging a hose like she was filming some budget heist movie. At first, I didn't even feel mad, just confused. What exactly did she think she was doing? Trying to water something, ruin something? Was this her twisted idea of payback? Was she hoping I'd get electrocuted somehow? She crouched by my irrigation box, the same one I'd used a while back to send a little sewage surprise into her stolen water line, and started messing with it. That's when it hit me. She was trying to sabotage me. Again. The difference? I knew what I was doing. She didn't, and she was about to learn the hard way. After the whole Tesla fiasco, I upgraded everything. New locks, hidden camera inside the irrigation box, motion sensors planted right in the dirt. I knew revenge was coming. You don't publicly dethrone the queen of HOA crazy and expect her to just fade away. But I didn't think she'd come back this soon, or be this clueless. I watched her fumble with the hose, try to hook it up, fail, then yank on a fake valve cap like it was the launch key to a space shuttle. That cap, just for looks. The real system was locked tight behind a waterproof panel. But Karen, in her soggy midnight brilliance, thought she was about to tap my water supply again. She grunted, stood up, and started smacking the box with a flashlight like she was trying to wake it up. That's when I hit the sprinkler system. And let me tell you, I have never seen a middle-aged woman leap like that. As soon as the water sprayed out from a hidden head she didn't see, it nailed her square in the face. She screamed, slipped on the wet gravel, and landed flat on her back. Hose tangled around her like a busted-up boa constrictor. She scrambled up, soaked, hair standing out like she'd stuck a fork in a socket, and bolted back to her side of the property. I didn't even have to leave the couch. It was flawless. Next morning, I got an official HOA letter demanding I show up for an emergency community conduct review. In plain English, Karen pulled the fire alarm again. I showed up in jeans and a hoodie, expecting another circus, and boy did she deliver. Karen was already there, dressed like she was about to testify before the Senate. Big sunglasses, flowy scarf, and a tissue clutched, like she was auditioning for a soap opera. She stood there with a straight face and claimed she'd been attacked by a rogue sprinkler system while performing what she called a routine community inspection. She said I had weaponized my landscaping. Yes, actual words. Like I turned my front yard into a booby-trapped war zone. Honestly, it was like watching someone try to file a lawsuit against gravity for tripping over their own feet. But this time, the board wasn't buying what she was selling. I came prepared with footage, crystal clear video of her sneaking around my property after midnight, messing with my irrigation system like she was defusing a bomb. No clipboard, no flashlight, no excuse that could spin it into anything remotely official. She didn't look like a neighbor doing her duty. She looked like a prowler casing the joint. Still, Karen being Karen, she didn't back off. She brought in a stack of printed out Facebook posts, screenshots of random neighbors gossiping about her Tesla meltdown. Then she said I was running some kind of targeted harassment operation against her, and I swear that her car had developed something she called electromagnetic anxiety. That was her diagnosis, not a mechanic's, hers. And just when I thought the crazy hit its limit, she pulled out a big guns, a folder packed with Tesla diagnostic pages. The HOA president turned to me and said, "Do you have anything to add?" So I just hit play on the video of her getting blasted in the face by my sprinkler. There was this moment of silence, then a snort, a chuckle, and within seconds, the whole room was stifling laughter. Even Chuck, the guy who only ever shows up for free donuts, mumbled, "That's karma with a pressure nozzle." Karen absolutely lost it. She stood up, shouted about corruption and bias, and stomped out again. Only this time, the censure didn't come for me. The board officially warned her, one more fake report or trespassing stunt, and they'd pursue legal action. And just like that, I thought it was over. I'd survived the HOA witch trials. I'd outmaneuvered the tyrant of suburbia. My yard was now a full-blown fortress of petty justice. But Karen wasn't built like the rest of us. Instead of giving up, she changed tactics. No more direct attacks. She went underground, started spreading rumors, whispering in ears, and posting fake stuff on the neighborhood page. Flyers started showing up at the mailbox, warning about some unnamed neighbor manipulating local behavior through electrical interference. Gee, I wonder who that was aimed at. She even reported me to the city, claiming I had unpermitted tech installations at my house. Nice try. All my permits were solid and filed, but it was like being pecked to death by a chicken, just non-stop petty, time-wasting nonsense. Then one evening, something new happened. I got a knock on the door. Not Karen, not a neighbor, a guy in a suit, very polite, said he was from Tesla's Customer Integrity Division. Turns out Karen had filed a formal complaint with them, saying my outlet permanently altered the spiritual frequency of her car. She said it was experiencing phantom glitches, that it felt different, and, this is real, that it started playing music she didn't recognize. She wanted compensation, not a repair, a brand new Tesla, maybe even damages on top. They were obligated to investigate. So I invited the guy in, offered him a coffee, and gave him the full show. Security footage, power usage logs, my patent paperwork, even walked him through how the surge protection relay worked. When I finished, he just shook his head, let out a low whistle, and said, "We've seen a lot. But this is something else." He thanked me, said Tesla wouldn't be taking any action, and left. 4 days later, Karen's car got flagged in their system for electrical inconsistency. Tesla marked her as a restricted support case. Basically, she'd be treated as a high-maintenance customer from now on. More red tape, more questions, extra scrutiny. She didn't know yet, but she was about to find out. Because that weekend was the big neighborhood block party. Everyone was out. Families, kids, even the HOA acting like things were back to normal. And right on cue, Karen rolled up with her Tesla parked front and center, like she was showing off a prize pig at the fair. That's when someone asked, "Hey, why does your console flicker when you turn on Bluetooth?" Karen froze. She muttered something about rogue frequencies. Another neighbor chuckled, "Maybe it's haunted again." Then someone else pulled out their phone and said, "Didn't this guy catch her stealing power?" They meant me. Karen turned slowly, saw me leaning on my fence, sipping sweet tea, grinning like I already knew how the story ended. That's when it hit her. This wasn't just about the board anymore. It wasn't just the security footage, or the fines, or the rules. The neighborhood was waking up. And Karen? Karen was running out of places to hide. Here's the thing about people like her. They bank on nobody pushing back. They lie, manipulate, throw their weight around, all because they assume folks are too polite or too tired to stand up to them. But once that curtain's pulled back, once people finally see what's behind all that noise, it all starts to fall apart. And Karen's mask was slipping fast. After the block party, something shifted. Neighbors who used to give her friendly waves started crossing the street to avoid her. The HOA quietly nudged her out of every committee. Even her beloved Tesla, the car she used to flaunt like a crown, became the running joke of the neighborhood. Apparently, that flickering console issue, it didn't go away. In fact, the random Bluetooth glitches just kept getting worse. She even tried taking the Tesla to a different service center, hoping to dodge the problem. But the flag on her account followed her like a bad credit score. No matter where she went, she got that same overly polite, tight-lipped response. "We'll look into it," which in Tesla speak translates to, "Lady, we know exactly who you are." But Karen wasn't the type to bow out gracefully. If her suburban kingdom was crumbling, she was going to make sure everyone heard it on the way down. That's when the flyers started showing up. Handwritten, taped to mailboxes, slipped into screen doors. They read like conspiracy blogs written during a blackout, rambling stuff about electrical sabotage, neighborhood mind games, and some wild theory that I was using electric pulses to manipulate HOA meetings. Yes, she spelled it electric. One flyer claimed I had a mind control tower in my garage. Spoiler alert, it's a Wi-Fi extender. Then she tried to sell her house. At first, she played it subtle. Just a post in the community group asking if anyone knew a good realtor. Then, for a weekend, a little "for sale by owner" sign popped up in her yard and just as quickly disappeared. I figured reality had finally caught up to her. What I didn't expect was that her house wouldn't sell. And not because of the market, oh no, because of me. Not directly, of course. I didn't post a word, didn't contact a single buyer. But somehow, and who knows how these things happen, footage of her mooching electricity off my house made its way online. A whole video compilation, actual, edited, with captions and music. The title? Karen's Free Ride. How One Woman Stole Electricity and Blamed Demons. I still have no clue who made it. Could have been anyone. It exploded in the local Facebook mom groups, then got reposted on Reddit, and finally ended up on some petty revenge YouTube channel that racked up 500,000 views. By the time a real estate agent stepped in to officially list her house, the listing was flooded with troll comments. One guy asked if the stolen outlet came with the property. Another wanted to know if the Tesla was still spiritually compromised. Zillow had to temporarily shut off the comment section. Karen tried to get ahead of it. She started telling folks she was moving for a career opportunity, and that the neighborhood had gotten too toxic. No one bought it. Every open house she hosted had mysteriously low turnout. Some people came just to gawk at the now infamous porch from the video thumbnail. One guy said he recognized the. After that, she stopped holding open houses altogether. Meanwhile, life on my side of the street, it was great. My smart home setup was nearly done. Solar panels were up and humming beautifully. Best part? I installed a password-protected outlet system tied right into my smart grid. Anyone in the neighborhood could use it, charge their devices, even plug in a car, as long as they asked politely and had the code. I called it Power to the Polite. It was a hit. People loved it. Even the HOA said it was an innovative community solution. They actually asked me to help roll it out across the neighborhood. Karen? Yeah, she wasn't invited to that meeting. Now you'd think this is where the whole saga ends. Karen packs her bags, loads up her haunted Tesla, and slinks off into the sunset. But come on. You know Karen doesn't do quiet exits. Or shame. There was one last twist left. The neighborhood holds a big holiday decorating contest every year. Huge deal. Lights, inflatable Santas, music timed to FM radio, the works. Karen had won the last 2 years running, mostly by guilt-tripping the judges and intimidating anyone who dared enter. This time, I decided to throw my hat in, just for fun. I kept it sleek, all white LEDs, clean lines, solar-powered everything, minimalist. But the real statement was in the front yard, a small, softly lit lawn sign that read, "This house is powered by the sun, not the neighbors." People ate it up. Kids took selfies with it. Neighbors shared it online. Somebody even made t-shirts. I didn't win the contest, but neither did Karen. She came in fourth. Behind me, behind a guy whose inflatable Santa did backflips, and behind a teenager who wrapped his house in tinfoil with the words "budget bling" spelled out in duct tape. That was it for Karen. A week later, a moving truck rolled up in front of her house. No warning, no farewell, no drama. By sunrise, she was gone. Her Tesla hauled away on a trailer. She didn't even drive it out. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, watching it all with quiet satisfaction. Not because she left, but because, for once, she had no narrative left to twist, no lies left to spin, no haunted dashboards, no fake inspections, no flyers blaming me for rogue electrons. A few weeks later, the house sold. A retired couple from North Carolina moved in. Sweet folks. The husband's first question: "So, is that outlet story actually real?" I laughed and gave him the full version. He shook his head and said, "Well, that's one way to get introduced to the neighborhood." Then he added, "Mind if I get the password for your charging system?" I smiled, handed him a card with the code, and said, "Welcome to the block." These days, when I walk around the neighborhood, people wave. Some ask for tech help. One guy even called me the HOA whisperer. Not sure if that's a compliment, but hey, I'll take it. What started as a battle over stolen electricity became something more. A shift in the neighborhood's attitude. A reminder that even in the quietest corners of suburbia, it's worth standing up to a bully. And Karen? Last I heard, she was trying to sue Tesla for emotional distress. Something about her new car changing radio stations on its own. Personally, I hope it only plays 3 songs on repeat, preferably something fitting, like High Voltage by AC/DC. As for me, I finally have the peace I came here for. No more surprise finds, no more sabotage, just the gentle hum of solar panels, the occasional motion sensor ping, and the deeply satisfying knowledge that if anyone tries to jack my power again, well, let's just say the circuit's still armed, and it's ready to party. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and write to the bell, and share your impressions of listening to this story in the comments. Thank you for watching.